Did it ever happen to you, that special moment you dreamed of just didn't go as planned? Maybe that vacation you saved up for years for, or a project you started with great hope. Well, that's exactly what happened to me. My whole life, I had dreamt of traveling the world. I'd traced my finger over maps, imagining different cultures, historic cities, exotic beaches. I worked, I strived, I saved my money, and finally, in my 70s, I had both the time and the means. That was the moment to make my dreams a reality. With great excitement, I booked the plane tickets. I packed my suitcase with care. Everything was perfect. In my mind, a magnificent adventure unfolded where I would collect unforgettable memories all over the world, take vibrant photos, and meet new people. But life sometimes takes a completely different turn than you plan. That long-awaited trip, which I saw as a reward for my whole life, turned out much differently than you could imagine. Almost a nightmare. I learned through a painful experience that traveling, especially after 70, isn't just about seeing new places. It was a journey full of hidden dangers that younger travelers rarely even think about. A simple fall, an unexpected illness, or even a ruthless scam could turn my long-awaited getaway into a stressful, even life-threatening ordeal. And the scariest part was this. Most of my peers don't even realize these risks until it's too late. Now, I'm going to tell you about 6 insidious dangers of traveling after 70, and more importantly, how to protect yourself from these dangers and truly ensure your trips are enjoyable. If you're ready, let's dive in. 1. Unfamiliar healthcare systems. When you need help but no one can aid you. When you face a health issue at home, you know exactly what to do, where to go, and who to call. Everything is familiar, safe. But what if you face a health crisis in a completely foreign country, where the doctors speak a language you don't understand, the hospitals operate differently, and your insurance might not even be valid? That's a terrifying reality that many older people face when traveling abroad. Take Robert, a 73-year-old retired teacher from Texas. Visiting Japan, a country known for its rich history and breathtaking landscapes, had always been his dream. He had planned everything meticulously. His itinerary, accommodations, even a list of must-try local dishes. But there was one thing he didn't plan for: a sudden health emergency. On his 3rd day in Tokyo, after an afternoon exploring the busy streets of Shinjuku, Robert felt an intense chest pain. At first, he thought it was indigestion from the sushi he had for lunch. However, within minutes, the pain worsened, and he began to feel dizzy and short of breath. He knew he needed immediate medical help. His wife panicked and tried to call for an ambulance, but there was a major problem. They didn't speak Japanese, and the emergency operator didn't understand English well enough to provide clear instructions. When help finally arrived, they faced another hurdle. Japanese hospitals require upfront payments for treatment unless you have valid international insurance. Robert's U.S. health insurance didn't cover overseas emergencies, and without proof of his ability to pay, the hospital hesitated to admit him. Precious minutes ticked by while they tried to sort out the financial details, delaying the urgent care he needed. This situation is not at all rare. Many older individuals assume their health insurance extends internationally, only to find out too late that they are on their own when it comes to medical expenses abroad. Even if you do have travel insurance, do you know which hospitals in your destination accept it? Are you prepared to navigate a complex foreign healthcare system in the middle of an emergency? But the problem isn't just insurance. Different countries have different medical standards. Some offer excellent healthcare, while others lack modern equipment or have long waiting times. What if you're traveling in a rural area with no hospital nearby? What if you need medication that isn't available in that country? These are the kinds of risks that travelers over 70 need to consider before booking a trip. So what's the solution? Be prepared before traveling. Research the healthcare system of your destination. Find out which hospitals provide care for foreigners, whether they accept international insurance, and how to contact emergency services. If you take prescription medications, bring extra and ensure they are legal in the country you're visiting. And most importantly, never travel without comprehensive travel insurance that covers medical evacuations. It could mean the difference between life and death. 2. Exhaustion from overpacked itineraries. When a dream trip becomes a test of endurance, while navigating an unfamiliar healthcare system is a significant danger, Pushing yourself too hard while traveling is a silent trap that many older individuals walk right into. The excitement of seeing new places, combined with the pressure to make the most of the trip, often leads to an itinerary that looks great on paper, but is completely unrealistic in practice. That's exactly what happened to Margaret, a 71-year-old retired nurse from Florida. After years of saving and planning, she finally booked a 2-week European getaway with her best friend. The goal: visit 5 countries in 14 days. The plan sounded thrilling. Breakfast in Paris, an afternoon in Amsterdam, and a sunset gondola ride in Venice. Margaret had spent decades working long hospital shifts, and in her mind, she was still just as energetic and resilient as she used to be. But she quickly discovered that traveling at 71 was nothing like the fast-paced trips she had taken in her 40s. By the 3rd day, exhaustion began creeping in. Back-to-back flights, early morning train rides, and miles of walking through cobblestone streets were taking a toll on her body. By the time she reached Rome, she was so drained that she couldn't even enjoy the city she had dreamed of visiting for decades. Instead of marveling at the Colosseum, she was struggling to catch her breath on its steep steps. Instead of indulging in an authentic Italian dinner, she was too nauseous and fatigued to eat. What many older individuals don't realize is that the body's ability to recover from exhaustion changes drastically with age. In younger years, a good night's sleep could fix anything, but after 70, fatigue lingers. Travel disrupts normal routines. Sleep schedules get thrown off, meal times become unpredictable, and the physical toll of long travel days adds up. Dehydration, jet lag, and muscle soreness hit harder and last longer. And then there's the mental exhaustion. Navigating airports, dealing with lost luggage, rushing to catch trains. It all creates stress that drains energy just as much as physical activity. Many older individuals return home from their vacation more tired than they were before they left. Instead of making beautiful memories, they spend weeks recovering from a trip that was supposed to be enjoyable. So, how do you avoid this mistake? Travel smarter, not harder. Instead of cramming multiple destinations into one trip, focus on fewer locations with more time in each. Plan rest days in between sightseeing. Book hotels that offer comfort and accessibility, and schedule flights at reasonable hours. Recognize your body's limits and listen when it tells you to slow down. Because a vacation should be about enjoying the experience, not surviving it. 3. The risk of falls and injuries. One misstep can change everything. Feeling exhausted from an overpacked itinerary is frustrating, but a single fall while traveling can turn inconvenience into catastrophe. As we age, our sense of balance, reflexes, and bone density all decline, making falls far more dangerous than they used to be. A stumble that might have meant just a bruise in your 40s could lead to a broken hip, weeks in the hospital, and a permanent impact on your mobility in your 70s. Just ask Eleanor, a 76-year-old retired librarian from Oregon. She had always dreamed of exploring the historic streets of Prague, a city rich with old-world charm, breathtaking architecture, and cobblestone streets. Determined to soak in every moment, she spent her first day walking for hours, taking photos, and admiring the beauty of the city. But as the sun set and she made her way back to her hotel, she stepped off a curb onto the uneven stones, and in an instant, she was on the ground. The pain was immediate. Eleanor had fractured her wrist trying to break her fall, and the impact had left her bruised and shaken. A kind stranger helped her up, but she quickly realized a bigger problem. She didn't know where to go for medical care. Her travel companion rushed her to a nearby hospital, but the language barrier and unfamiliar healthcare system turned a stressful situation into an overwhelming one. Hours later, after struggling through paperwork, x-rays, and out-of-pocket expenses, she left the hospital with a cast, a hefty bill, and a vacation that was effectively over. Falls are one of the leading causes of serious injuries for older adults, and traveling only increases the risks. Uneven sidewalks, slippery hotel bathtubs, poorly lit staircases, and unfamiliar terrain all create hazards that younger travelers barely think about. Cruise ships, in particular, pose an added danger, as moving decks and narrow hallways can make even steady walkers more prone to losing their balance. And it's not just the initial fall that's dangerous, it's the long-term consequences. A broken bone could mean months of recovery, physical therapy, and even loss of independence. Many older individuals who suffer a major injury while traveling find themselves needing assistance long after their trip has ended. So, what can you do to protect yourself? Choose destinations with senior-friendly infrastructure. Research hotels with elevators, handrails, and accessible bathrooms. Wear proper footwear with non-slip soles. Forget about stylish but impractical shoes if walking on rough terrain is unavoidable. Use a cane or walking stick for extra stability. Most importantly, listen to your body. If you're feeling fatigued, don't push yourself because one moment of carelessness can have lasting consequences. A fall shouldn't be the thing you remember most from your trip. Travel smart, stay steady, and prioritize your safety. 4. Infections and food poisoning. When one meal ruins your entire trip. Avoiding falls is one way to stay safe while traveling, but what about the dangers you can't see? Bacteria, viruses, and foodborne illnesses are invisible threats that can turn an exciting adventure into days of misery, or worse, a trip to the hospital. Many older individuals underestimate how vulnerable they are to infections, but as the immune system weakens with age, even a simple stomach bug can become a serious health crisis. Take Frank, a 74-year-old retired firefighter from Chicago. After decades of hard work, he finally set out on his dream trip to Thailand, a land of vibrant culture, stunning landscapes, and world-famous street food. Frank had always prided himself on having a strong stomach. He had eaten from food trucks back home and never once gotten sick. So, when he found himself at a bustling Bangkok night market, he didn't hesitate to try grilled seafood, fresh fruit, and a local specialty, papaya salad. The next morning, everything changed. Frank woke up with severe stomach cramps, chills, and nausea. Within hours, he was dehydrated, feverish, and too weak to leave his hotel room. He had contracted a foodborne illness, most likely from contaminated water or improperly handled food. What was supposed to be a week of adventure quickly turned into a desperate search for a doctor, electrolyte packets, and a quiet place to recover. Food poisoning is one of the most common yet overlooked dangers of traveling, especially for older adults. Water that is perfectly safe for locals might be filled with bacteria that your body isn't used to. Unwashed fruits, undercooked meat, or even ice cubes in a drink can introduce harmful pathogens. And it's not just food. Airports, public restrooms, and crowded tourist attractions are breeding grounds for germs that can lead to respiratory infections, the flu, or worse. Older individuals, in particular, are at higher risk for complications. What might be a 24-hour inconvenience for a younger traveler could turn into severe dehydration, hospitalization, or prolonged digestive issues for someone over 70. A stomach infection can weaken the immune system, making you more susceptible to other illnesses. Exactly the kind of problem you don't want to face in an unfamiliar country. So, how can you protect yourself? Be extremely cautious with food and water. Stick to bottled or filtered water. Avoid raw or undercooked foods, and be selective about where you eat. Just because a place looks popular doesn't mean it follows proper hygiene standards. Always wash your hands frequently. Carry hand sanitizer, and avoid touching your face in crowded areas. If you're traveling to a country where foodborne illnesses are common, consider bringing anti-diarrheal medication, probiotics, and electrolyte supplements as part of your travel kit. Because nothing ruins a trip faster than being stuck in bed, or worse, in a foreign hospital when you should be out exploring. Point 5. Financial scams and hidden costs. When your dream trip becomes a costly mistake. While avoiding foodborne illnesses is crucial, what if the biggest danger on your trip isn't your health but your wallet? Many older individuals assume that the only real expenses they need to worry about while traveling are flights, hotels, and meals. But in reality, financial scams, unexpected medical bills, and hidden fees can drain your bank account faster than you ever imagined. That's exactly what happened to John, a 72-year-old retired contractor from Denver. He had always wanted to see the pyramids of Egypt, so when he found a travel deal online, an all-inclusive luxury package at half the usual price, he jumped at the opportunity. Everything seemed legitimate. A professional website, glowing customer reviews, and even a personal phone call from a travel agent confirming the details. But when John arrived in Cairo, he realized he had fallen for an elaborate scam. The hotel didn't exist, The tour company had vanished, and his so-called travel agent was nowhere to be found. With no reservations, no guided tour, and no way to recover his lost money, John was left scrambling to find a last-minute hotel, paying far more than he had budgeted. Instead of enjoying the sights, he spent his first few days dealing with banks, trying to dispute the fraudulent charges, and kicking himself for not double-checking the company before booking. Unfortunately, John's story is far from unique. Older individuals are prime targets for travel scams. Fake vacation rentals, overpriced taxi rides, fraudulent tour operators, and even pickpockets who specialize in distracting and robbing unsuspecting tourists. The worst part is, these scams don't just cost you money. They create stress, fear, and frustration that can ruin an entire trip. And it's not just outright scams that pose a financial risk. Hidden costs can add up quickly. Baggage fees, hotel resort charges, international transaction fees on credit cards, and inflated medical costs for tourists. What seems like a well-budgeted trip can suddenly spiral into thousands of dollars in unexpected expenses. So, how can you protect yourself? Be skeptical of deals that seem too good to be true. Always book through reputable travel agencies or directly with airlines and hotels. Before handing over your credit card, verify that businesses are legitimate by checking reviews from multiple sources, not just their own website. When traveling, be cautious with your money. Don't carry large amounts of cash. Use RFID blocking wallets to prevent digital theft. And be wary of overly friendly strangers offering deals or assistance. Most importantly, invest in travel insurance that covers trip cancellations, fraud protection, and medical emergencies. A few extra dollars spent on security and peace of mind can save you from devastating financial loss. Because a dream vacation should be a time of joy, not regret. 6. Travel insurance. The lifeline you don't think you need until it's too late. Losing money to scams and hidden costs is frustrating, but nothing compares to the financial and emotional devastation of a medical emergency abroad, especially if you don't have travel insurance. Many older individuals assume their regular health insurance will cover them anywhere in the world, only to find out, often in the worst possible moment, that it doesn't. That's exactly what happened to Susan, a 75-year-old retired school principal from North Carolina. Visiting Australia had always been her dream, and after years of planning, she finally made the trip with her daughter. They spent their first few days exploring Sydney's iconic landmarks, taking the Opera House, and enjoying scenic walks along the harbor. But on day 5, everything changed. While hiking in the Blue Mountains, Susan tripped on a loose rock and fell hard. The sharp pain in her hip told her immediately something was seriously wrong. Her daughter called for an ambulance, and within an hour, Susan was in a hospital bed staring at a bill she never expected. $35,000 for surgery and hospital fees. And that was just the beginning. The doctors told her she needed a medical evacuation back to the U.S. for proper rehabilitation, an additional $50,000. Susan's heart sank. She had spent her entire career teaching students about planning for the future, but she had failed to plan for this. She hadn't purchased travel insurance because she thought, I'm healthy. What's the worst that could happen? Now, she was about to find out. Without coverage, her choices were bleak. Pay out of pocket, rely on family to cover the costs, or stay in Australia until she could safely fly home on a commercial airline. Susan's story isn't unique. Medical emergencies while traveling can happen to anyone at any time, and the costs are often shocking. From sudden illnesses to accidents, from emergency evacuations to extended hospital stays, a single incident can wipe out years of savings. And it's not just medical costs. Missed flights, lost luggage, and unexpected trip cancellations can add up quickly. So, why do so many older individuals skip travel insurance? Some assume they don't need it. Others think it's too expensive. But the truth is, the cost of not having it is far higher. A comprehensive travel insurance plan can cover emergency medical expenses, hospital stays, surgeries, doctor visits, medical evacuations, flights home with medical support if needed, trip cancellations, and delays reimbursing non-refundable bookings, lost or stolen luggage, so you're not left empty-handed in a foreign country. Before you board your next flight, make sure you're covered. Read the fine print. Choose a plan that fits your needs, and travel with peace of mind. Because the best trips are the ones where you can focus on adventure, not on what might go wrong. We've uncovered 6 hidden dangers that many older individuals overlook when planning a trip. Unfamiliar healthcare systems, exhaustion from overpacked itineraries, the risk of falls, foodborne illnesses, financial scams, and the critical need for travel insurance. Each of these risks has a potential to turn a dream vacation into a stressful, even life-threatening experience. But does that mean you should stop traveling? Absolutely not. Life after 70 should be about new experiences, joy, and adventure. But it should also be about wisdom and preparation. The difference between a wonderful trip and a disastrous one often comes down to planning ahead, knowing your limits, and making smart choices. So, before you book your next flight, ask yourself, is my itinerary realistic? Have I researched medical facilities at my destination? Do I have the right insurance? Am I taking steps to protect my health, safety, and finances? These questions may not be exciting, but they could be the key to ensuring that your trip is filled with great memories instead of regrets. At the end of the day, travel should enhance your life, not put it at risk. Take your time, choose wisely, and most importantly, enjoy the journey. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more tips and insights. Safe travels, and I'll see you in the next one.